Helping you to take better photos is what this channel is all about, and in this video we're going to be looking at editing, removing annoying distractions, fixing badly overexposed images. There's no denying it. Editing our images can take our photography to the next level. Hi, Paul here from Photogenius. Now in this video we're going to look at editing images on the go using two free apps that you can use on a smartphone, iPad or similar device. And the great thing about these free apps is freedom. You're not tied to a laptop or a desktop. And the two apps that we're going to look at and compare today are Snapseed and Lightroom Mobile. Now, if you're a regular viewer to this channel, you'll probably already know that I'm a big fan of Snapseed, particularly when I'm out of the office on the move. In fact, I'd say that a good 90% of the images posted to the Photogenius Instagram page have been edited on my phone using Snapseed. It really is that good. But when I'm in the office, and particularly if I'm editing images for clients, I'm using Lightroom Classic CC. This is a desktop version. It's really powerful. It allows me to not just edit my images, including raw images, but also manage my images. And it is fantastic, but it is a paid subscription, so you do have to pay for it. But there's a free version of Lightroom as well. It's called Lightroom Mobile. And in this video, we're going to put that against Snapseed. So let's get into it. Okay, so for the first edit, we're going to open up Snapseed, tap here to open an image, and I'm going to open from device and select an image of our dog. So this is Boo, this is the office dog, and this is quite a nice photo, but there are some things that spoil it for me. The lead here, some of the distracting cracks in the ground. These are the sort of things we can remove and edit quite easily using Snapseed. It really is a great app. So we start by clicking on the little pencil icon here, and the first thing I want to do is remove that lead. So I'm selecting the healing tool. I'm going to make the image a lot bigger because it's going to be a lot easier to use, because if you don't, it really does struggle sometimes. Let's have a look here. Actually, that's not too bad. Pretty much got rid of the lead straight away. Zooming in here is a little bit of black fur, dark fur I want to get rid of. Let's try and get rid of this area just here. Okay, that's not too bad at all. For a free app, it really is pretty awesome. Okay, that's it. The lead is pretty much gone. Obviously, we could spend a little bit more time just sorting this out, but for now, I'm pretty happy with what I've got there. So next, we've got the lead down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the image. Let's get rid of this. I'm just going to paint with my finger over the area. The software clones and fixes it. So you can see that I'm having to clean up a couple of areas just here. Okay, so I've got rid of the lead. Next thing I want to do is remove these cracks in the ground here. So this should be a little bit easier to do. I'm just going to enlarge, draw with my finger, and that's gone. And that one's gone. Just going to clean it up in a couple of places. Okay, so looking pretty good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to increase the brightness in this half of the face here. So on the left of Boo's face, it is a little bit dark. So we're going to tick because I want to apply the changes so far. Click on the little pencil icon. I'm going to select Tune Image. So you can go up and down to choose what you want to change. Now here, I just want to affect the shadows. Going to the left will decrease or darken the shadows. This will increase the brightness in the shadow area. So as you can see, as I drag my finger to the right hand side, I'm able to increase the brightness in the shadows only, if not affecting the highlights, which is great. Now to check my progress so far, all I've got to do is tap on the image. There you go, it's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click on the tick icon. There's not a lot more I need to do to this image, to be honest with you. Looks pretty good to me. I might just crop slightly, click on the pencil icon, crop, and just maybe crop in just a little bit tighter. There you go, and yeah, we're nearly done. Now this picture was taken towards the end of the day. In the golden hour is a bit warm, so I'm going to go to white balance, and I'm just going to cool the image down just a tiny bit. Okay, I do want some of that warmth, but not too much. If I go too far, it's going to look really cool, really blue. If I go this way, it's going to warm it up too much. Obviously, I just want to cool it down just a touch. Okay, I like that. Click on here. And of course, there's a whole heap of things you can do with Snapseed. I can put a frame around the image if I want to. I can resize the frame, which is pretty neat. I can add text and a whole heap of things. But for this particular image, I think I'm just about done. Now to check on your progress, all you've got to do is touch the image, and this gives you the starting image and the edit so far. So you can see how easy it is to edit an image like this in Snapseed. And to save your image, you just click on the save icon. There's a few different options to choose from. I usually go for export, and this will save it to your camera roll. Done. Okay, so the image you just watched me edit was shot on my iPhone. I then used AirDrop to send that image from my phone to my iPad, and then I did the edit. Very easy to do. Had I shot that image using a bigger camera like these, I would have used this adapter to transfer the image. This is an SD to Lightning adapter. Really useful, never leaves my bag. I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in checking these out. Now, that was a JPEG image that I just edited. What I want to do now is show you how I can edit a raw image in Snapseed. But this is where it gets a bit interesting and also, to be fair, a little bit frustrating. If I shoot a raw image in a newer camera like this Canon camera, I can't currently edit that in Snapseed because Snapseed won't recognize raw images from newer cameras. This is the Nikon D300, a great camera and an older camera, and the raw images coming out of this camera can be recognized by Snapseed. Now I'm hoping that Snapseed will get an update in the future and allow it to edit current and newer raw images. But if you're a bit confused about this and you want to check to see if your camera is going to be compatible and if you can edit raw images using Snapseed, I've put some details on my website and I'll put a link in the description below. But let me now show you how to edit a raw image using Snapseed. Okay, so now let's edit a raw image in Snapseed. Now we start by opening from device once again. I'm selecting an image here that was taken in New Zealand, a place called Queenstown. And I had to go through the archives to find this image because Snapseed only recognizes certain raw images and mostly from older cameras. So this image is taken using a Nikon D3500. Now when you open the raw image, the layout is slightly different and you can make your changes to the raw images using the following menu. Now this particular picture doesn't need a great deal of work, but let me show you what you can do. Exposure is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, I'm going to leave the exposure where it is. What I do want to do though is bring down some of the highlights on the snow-capped mountains here. So I'm going to highlights, and I'm going to reduce the highlights just to give me back some of the details. So if I touch the button up here, you'll see the difference. It's quite subtle, okay, but looks pretty good. Next thing I want to do is increase the shadows just a tiny bit here. White balance I don't think needs changing, but as you can see, just like software like Lightroom and Photoshop, you have the option of changing the white balance. Because this is a raw image, I'm actually pretty happy with what I've got here already. So I click on the pencil icon and I have my usual menu here. What I'm going to do is crop this image slightly because I want to make a feature of the boat. Now what I want to do is, following the rule of thirds, is put the boat on the intersecting line just here and put the horizon on the line just here. Okay, I think that is a better crop. Here's the starting point. That's the edit so far. This particular image I don't think needs a lot more work. So I'm done. So I'm clicking save, export, and again it creates a copy. So if you're shooting JPEGs with cameras like this or just using your smartphone, then Snapseed is a really good app, particularly when you consider these apps are free. It's really powerful and it's got some great tools built in. Of course, some of you are going to want to shoot raw images because it gives you more control over your editing. And if you're using an older camera, you'll probably be okay. But if you've got a newer camera, then sadly at the moment, Snapseed won't recognize the raw files. Don't forget to check out my website to find out which ones are compatible and which ones aren't. Link below the video. Let's move on to Lightroom Mobile. Now Lightroom Mobile, again, straight out of the box, will allow you to edit JPEG images out of any device. It's a really powerful tool, but when it comes to raw images, here's the deal. Lightroom will recognize pretty much any current raw file out of pretty much any camera, and it is constantly being updated. The catch, however, with this one is although the app is free to use, you do have to be a subscriber to use the raw editing. So if you're already an Adobe user and you're using maybe Photoshop, Lightroom or something similar, then you're good to go. You can download the app for free and you can edit raw images. But again, just like Snapseed, if you don't want to be a subscriber and you just want to use the free side of it, then you just need to shoot JPEGs. Let me show you how easy it is to edit an image in Lightroom. This image is going to be a raw image. Okay, so now let's open up the Lightroom mobile app. So I click on Lightroom, the app opens, and I've imported a couple of raw images. This one I've already edited. This is the one we're going to work on now. So click on the image, and this is the layout. Now the image is of Sydney Harbour Bridge, and as you can see, it definitely needs some work. It is completely overexposed to the left here. The horizon is very wonky, and I think it just definitely needs some improvements. So touching the image resizes the image, double tap allows you to zoom in, and the menu appears over on the right hand side. Now there's a whole heap of different options here, and remember this is a raw image. So the first thing we're going to do is try and fix that really overexposed sky. So here if we click on light, we have the ability to control our exposure, and you can see what a difference this is making to the image already. Because it is a raw image, there is a lot of data here. All we got to do is adjust it. So what I'm doing is bringing the exposure down just a touch, doesn't have to be too much. Tap on the image, shows us the before and edit so far. Highlights will affect obviously the bright areas of the image, so I'm going to bring the highlights down a bit as well, and that has recovered that sky already. Now in doing this, I've made the darker areas, because I've brought the exposure down, even darker. So I'm next going to lift the shadows up to make the darker parts of the image a little bit brighter. Touching the image gives, and the next thing I want to do is fix the horizon. So I'm done with light. I'm going to go to geometry, and look in here, there is rotate option, and if I adjust this using the guides, I can fix that awful wonky horizon. Okay, I think that's just about done. Click on here. Yep, done. Now if we click on constrain crop, it's going to crop to suit. Now that is our edit so far, and that was our starting point. A big difference. Now next thing I'm going to show you is that I can selectively adjust parts of the image. I have an area over here which is quite dark, so what I can do is go and select the selective edit tool, click on the plus icon, and what I'm going to do is with my finger just paint over this area here, just to show you how easy it is. Now if I go to light, what I can do now is make changes that will only affect this area. So if I go to shadows and lift the shadows up, I can increase or of course decrease the edited area. So I'm going to increase the shadows just a touch, not too much. I'm going to click on done, and there we go. Tapping again shows us our before and after. So Lightroom really is a very powerful tool. Let's zoom in on the boat here. The boat already looks pretty good. I don't think I need to do much to that actually. So I'm pretty much done here. I want to show you another edit that I did. This is of the Sydney Opera House. This is the edit so far, not quite finished, but this was our starting point. Again, a very exposed image, slightly wonky horizon. So I made a few changes. I think the image still does probably look a little bit dark, needs a little bit of brightening, but you can see how powerful Lightroom is. It really is very good. So Snapseed versus Lightroom Mobile, which is the way to go? I guess this largely depends on what you're shooting with. If you're taking photos of an iPhone or cameras like this and you're shooting JPEGs, then Snapseed may be the one for you. It's aimed at the beginner, so it's very easy and intuitive to use, but that doesn't mean it's not powerful, because it is. You have a lot of power and a lot of control over your edit. Plus there's some really cool features built in, like the ability to maybe add a frame to your image, overlay text, and some other cool things that you won't find in Lightroom Mobile, for example. The downside of Snapseed at the moment, of course, is the lack of RAW support, which is fine if you're using an older camera, but not so much if you've got a newer camera. And for more details on that, don't forget there's a link below the video. Okay, let's move on to Lightroom Mobile, which out of the two apps is probably the most powerful, but does lack some of the fun stuff that makes Snapseed so appealing in the first place. Now if you're shooting JPEG images, it's easy to throw your image straight into Lightroom and you have all the tools necessary to do a pretty good edit. But Lightroom really shines if you're shooting raw images. Now, unlike Snapseed, Lightroom will recognize raw images from most of the cameras that are available, and the software is updated regularly. So if you've got a newer camera, you should be able to edit your image in Lightroom Mobile, if not now, pretty soon. But there is a catch to this one, and I mentioned it earlier in the video. You do have to be an Adobe subscriber to unlock this option. So if you're not an Adobe subscriber and you've downloaded Lightroom Mobile, which is really cool, you can only currently edit JPEG images. But if you're an Adobe subscriber and you're already using some of their software, you can edit your raw images too. And that is pretty awesome. Now, as you saw earlier in the video, I edited an image shot in Sydney and the image was very overexposed. The sky had really lacked detail, but I was able to recover that detail because it was a raw image. You cannot do that with a JPEG. And there's a bunch of other features as well that make Lightroom stand out. For example, the ability to sync images in the cloud is really cool. Didn't cover it in this video, but in short, I can start an edit on my iPad, pick it up later in the day on my desktop in my office if I want to, and that's a really cool feature as well. Now look, at the end of the day, both of these apps are free, so why not download them both and have a play and see which one suits you best. And I'd love to know, which one did you like playing with? Leave some comments down below. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. New videos every single week. And don't forget, you can leave your comments, suggestions and questions down below. I hope to see you again sometime soon. See ya. Bye.